Hello everyone, it's Heather again with Reflecting Inward Life Coaching. And this video I am titling How Finding, Loving, and Being True to Myself Healed Me. And to start out, I wanted to present to you the idea of owning your truth. And I know that many of you have probably heard of this already. For those of you who haven't, what it means to own your truth is that you have a choice to look at of how you look at your past experience, your history, and how you're going to allow it to shape you. So I like to look at owning your truth kind of like one of those choose your own ending books that maybe you used to read. I used to love reading them in middle school, and I loved the ones where at the end of a chapter, it gave you an option. Should Susie just go home, or should Susie go through the dark alley? Okay, so if she chooses to go home, it's one story. It goes one direction. If she chooses to go down the dark alley, there's a whole other possible story that could happen. So you get to choose what happens to her. And then at the end of the next chapter, there are two other options that you can choose from to take her another direction. So as you can see, depending on every choice she makes or you make for her or him, in the book, there are countless options for how the whole of the story turns out, depending on our choice, what we're going to do with them. And that's the exact same thing in our lives. In our lives, when we think about our past, our history, our experiences, and or we're about to recount them to someone else, that's like being at the end of a chapter and saying, okay, I have two choices. At this point in my life, thinking about my past and my history and what has gotten me to where I am now, I could either, one, choose to let that history, those experiences, keep me going down the exact same path and keep having the exact same types of outcomes for every chapter in my life. Or two, I can look at my past experiences and I can choose to create an opportunity for growth by looking at those challenges and saying, I have learned this from this challenge, and I am going to choose to let it become a strength and to let it create greater understanding about who I am and where I want to be going. So this is actually a process that allows us to gain strength and understanding that's actually necessary for us to be healed from the negative past experiences. And every time we pause in our lives and we consider this, it's like an opportunity for us to choose, do I want to keep going down the same path I've been going down? Or do I want to make some changes, some adjustments to learn from what I've experienced and make some changes to make sure I go down a path that will take me to the story that I want to have in my life, to the ending I want to have at the end of my life. So, my truth. It's time for me to own my truth. There was a lot of verbal, emotional, and at times physical abuse present in my childhood home. And this was at the hand of my dad, and I love my dad. Through my own growth and healing process, I have been able to be at peace with what has happened and to grow from it and learn from it, because I now understand that, first of all, my dad may not have had the things that he needed to provide me with the things that I needed emotionally in my childhood. So he literally did the only thing he knew how to do in various situations for him to cope and to thrive in his environment for himself. And of course, that had a negative impact on me. However, looking back on it, I can say he did literally the best that he knew how. He knew no other way. And I love my dad. And I'm grateful for him. And I even have quite a bit of compassion for him because I know that whatever it was that trained him and taught him how to handle his circumstances in life, it's because he was taught that himself too. And that's what he received too. And it's possible that he may have had it worse. So, although a physical abuse can definitely be painful, the sting goes away and the flesh heals with time. Something that I learned from my experience was that emotional and verbal abuse continue for many years, and they proliferate all aspects and parts of our lives. So in my experience, I learned to fear and to not trust my dad when I was 5 years old, when I was in kindergarten. And the experience that I had was, it left me feeling like I was unimportant, I was bad, and that I wasn't worth being kind to. And I think that kind of rolls over into a general belief that I'm not worth it, or I'm not worthy of fill in the blank. And of course, this turned into a self-fulfilling prophecy in my life. So it snowballed later in my life to peer rejection, adult leader rejection, codependency in my dating relationships. And I even dated a narcissist for about 1.5 years. And I saw signs, but I chose to ignore them for reasons that I won't go into today. But that's where I was emotionally. That's where I was in my mind, was that I'll deal with this. This might be as good as it gets. All these other things are okay. So hopefully things will get better, but let's just keep going. And I accepted that. I accepted the abuse of a narcissist for 1.5 years because somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt like it wasn't going to get any better for me. And then I was introduced to the concept of healing the child within, which is a book that was written by Dr. Charles Whitfield. Now, I highly recommend that you read this book. You don't have to buy it. You can go to your local library, even just go online and see if they have it. Get an electronic copy. They have physical copies. They have audiobook copies. You might even know or have a subscription to a different book provider where you could just go look for it. So you don't necessarily have to buy it to reap the benefits from it. Again, it's called Healing the Child Within. And within this book, I learned something that was mind-blowing. And it was right at the beginning. It's estimated that 80 to 85% of the world, of the whole world, has experienced traumatic enough events in their childhood to negatively impact all areas of their life throughout their adulthood. And when I read that, I thought, oh my goodness, how much hurt and how much pain is there in the world that's being passed down generation to generation because no one knows any different. They're doing the best they know how, but it keeps getting passed on because no one's presented a better way for them. So I learned from that book how to parent the child within, meaning how to, as an adult, knowing what I needed emotionally and verbally as a child, how I, as an adult, go back to the child that's within me. Locate them because they're always there. They're responding to all parts of our lives. All of the fears and the sadness and the what ifs come from the child that's afraid. So you go and you locate that part of you within that is this child that's afraid and needs to be loved and needs to be reparented in the way that they need to be parented. And you talk to them the way that you wish that you had been talked to as a child. I'm going to do another video that's focused on parenting the child within, step by step. So be watching for that. But that is the basis for huge results for me. Changed my life to go and talk to little Heather in the way that little Heather needed to be talked to, the way that Heather needed to be loved. And that really encouraged me, because I thought to myself, now I know how, when I have children that are having challenges and struggles, or maybe they've done something and I should be upset about this. Now I've actively done something myself, an action that allowed me to deal with a situation in an appropriate and loving way. So now when I have children, I can look at one of these situations where I might just blow my top and stop and think to myself, how does this child need to be parented? What is it that they emotionally need? And I have an example of exactly how it works, because I did it to myself. And now I can approach that child in a way that they need. So reading this book, Healing the Child Within, it led me to other resources, including the 3 programs that I have so far completed that have helped me to prepare to bring this healing process to you. So the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Life Coaching Certification, Positive Psychology Practitioner Certification, and Trauma Support Specialist Certification. All of those came from my going out and seeking out resources that would help me as I finished each resource and sought out other things to help me. So being healed mentally and emotionally has empowered me to do excellent things for the rest of my life. First of all, I learned how to live and love wholeheartedly without fear of rejection from anyone. How to be true to myself, regardless of what others think of me or of my decisions. To understand and have greater compassion for others, because now I understand more about why they might be behaving and treating people the way they are. How to exercise emotional intelligence in tense situations. How to find peace in times of uncertainty. How to be more open to perspectives that are outside of my personal experience and learning, because truth can be found in other people's experiences and learning that I have not personally experienced yet. I learned how to own my life story instead of allowing it power over me to control me and my future story. So at this point is where I offer you a suggestion on what you can do at this point actively to make a slight change that may be helpful to you in your healing process and in your growth process. First thing is, as I've already mentioned, if possible, get a copy of Healing the Child Within by Dr. Charles Whitfield and read it. The second thing is to keep a journal of the things that you've learned from that resource, as well as this video or any other videos or any other resources from our website that you're learning from. It is imperative, really, that you keep a journal, whether it be by hand or typing. Maybe it's an audio one, maybe you just record yourself. But I have found, and neuroscience has found, that the action of actually writing, actually taking information from your brain, your thoughts, and putting it into an action of actually writing out each letter by hand actually has a lasting effect on you. It's an actual behavior that can change future behavior. So I highly encourage you, if possible, to get a physical journal and to get yourself a good pen or pencil. I use erasable pens, love erasable pens, especially as a teacher, and keep a physical journal. about how all the things that you're learning apply to your own personal experiences. I will re-encounter the stories that I have to help you, but how does this apply to you and in your life personally? Because we're here to help you to make the shifts and adjustments in your life. Now, at that point, choose a past experience that you feel has negatively affected you and re-parent the child within. Talk to them the way that they needed to be talked to, the way that would have been helpful emotionally to them to feel safe and protected, to give them what they needed. And then I want you to pay attention to your body, how your body feels. When you start this and you start thinking about the negative experience, you're probably going to feel tension in your shoulders and in your neck. You might even get a headache. But the point is that your body is going to have an experience as you think about the negative experience. And I want you to consider how your body feeling changes as you re-parent the child within you the way that it needed to be parented. How does this impact you as you interact with others, especially if you have children? And if you do have children, consider something that maybe recently happened or that has happened frequently and may happen again. And think about how you handled the situation and how you want to handle it next time. So, what kinds of things did you need as a child to be parented? And those things are likely the same things that your children need. So consider that the next time this happens, this is how I'm going to choose to respond. This is what they need from me. And as you have those experiences, those growth experiences, write about it in your journal, along with the things that you're grateful for or that you appreciated this week. So that sounds like a lot. Let me go back over it really briefly. So the first thing is reading Child Within by Dr. Charles Whitfield. Keep a journal of the things that you're learning at all times, either from resources that you're accessing or actual experiences that you're having and how you've applied them. Keep a journal. And 3, reparent the child within you with one of your negative experiences and take note of how you change. How it changes your body, how it changes your thinking, how it changes your behavior. And 4, consider how this can be applied in your personal relationships, most especially with your children if you have them. And if not, just take a look at how it's impacting your relationship with anyone, everyone around you. If you have questions, please comment below, especially if it's for a topic that you would like to see me cover in one of our videos. And if you have questions in general, want more elaboration on this topic, and want more of an active process to help you, go to www.reflectinginward.org and check out our free resources. As always, you can always email me, ms.heather@reflectinginward.org, and schedule a one-on-one coaching session with me for free if that's something that you feel would be beneficial to you. Thanks so much for your time. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you again soon.